Hi everyone, welcome back to the Reclaimed Ranch. My name is Tara and we made it home safely from our vacation visiting family. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a few of those thrifted finds that we did over there in Maple Valley and kind of do an upcycle on them to make them a little more functional and pretty as well. So this was from the Goodwill bins. I found this handmade box and really cool wood, very rustic. It had its own little stamp on it already, and so we're just going to use some of the Jamie Ray vintage stencils to put more stamps on this box and make it a little bit more rustic looking. And I always like to use the painter's tape just to hold those stencils right where I want it, and we're going to go in with the Fusion Color Ash. And with the stencil brush, I'm using the JRV 1/2 inch, and these brushes are amazing. I'm actually thinking about trying to get a hold of them to see if I can sell them on my website. But you just want to take very little amount of paint, and you can see how I'm dabbing it off on the side there on my little paper towel. You don't want a ton of liquid on there because then it can bleed underneath the stencil. So just a tiny bit amount, and sometimes I don't even go back in the actual paint bottle. I just use it on the paper towel, whatever was left over. And you just pounce up and down. Some people like to use a swirling motion. That's fine too. But I find that pouncing up and down gives me less bleed through. And then I go ahead and take it off, use my heat gun just to kind of dry it off real quick. I'm going to immediately go in and also clean off my stencils. And so we're just going to use different kinds of numbers and letters and just put them in random places all over the box. And then I'm going to have to deal with, he had a screw on top to close the box. So I found a knob in one of my little stashes, and I'm going to use some leather rope to kind of keep it closed on the top. I think it turned out awesome. So here's that knob I was talking about, and I just put that on the top. It fit perfectly. And there was already a hole where the screw was, so it made it a nice and tight fit for this little screw to go in. And then I had to use my drill and a bit to make a hole for the bottom part where the leather comes out. So I just take my drill bit, make a hole just enough to fit that leather rope I'm going to use. Of course, I have my little handy vacuum. And I'm just going to place it through and tie it in the back side so that it doesn't come loose. And there it is. Let me know what you guys think of that one. Now this next project, we have these, this is that kind of really rustic looking piece of wood that I bought at the regular Goodwill for $5.99, and I had these old handles that had really pretty patina on it. So I'm going to go ahead and put the handles on the ends, and we're going to make this into a tray. And you can see off to the right side there, I got those insulators, old antique insulators from a lady for free. So we're going to use those as the feet. And so what we're going to do is just screw in these little handles first, and then I'm going to be using some epoxy to actually glue the insulators on because they're such heavy glass. I want to make sure there's a good seal against the wood and that they're going to stay. Yeah, I ended up having to get my little tiny bit to drill holes for these too because the wood was pretty hard to work with. But it's just nice to be able to take a few pieces from different times that you've gone to the stores. Look at how cool that looks. And put them together and make a really cool functional piece. So this is the epoxy. It comes in two parts. You just push it out and you mix it together, and it hardens within about 5 minutes. So you got to work kind of fast. Sorry, I'm out of the frame here, but I'm just layering a pretty good amount on top of the rim of that insulator. And then I'm just pushing it down in the corners. I'm going to leave it sit overnight. I don't have to put anything on because the insulators themselves are so heavy. They pretty much seal themselves onto the wood. So that made it kind of nice. But then we'll have a really cool looking riser or tray for some home decor. And I always wear gloves when working with epoxy. So this third project is that golf lamp that I bought for my husband. And I told you I was probably going to deconstruct the lampshade, which is what we're doing. We're just going to rip off all of that fabric, bring it down just to the solid metal. I did this one time before making a cloche out of a lampshade, and it turned out really cool. So I thought this would be more masculine looking for his lamp. And sometimes it gives you grief on getting this fabric off, but for the most part it comes off pretty easy. And then I end up just kind of washing the base, that metal base off. And then I'm going to use some antique gold rub and buff to change the color to kind of match the brass. And I also end up using a little bit of black wax from DIY. This is just some rubbing alcohol that I'm spraying on and cleaning it up with. And it's nice to have a little sanding block there handy just because there are some globs of glue on there from the fabric being on there. So I just sand those off and clean it up really good before we go in with the rub and buff. And antique gold was the closest color I had in the rub and buff to the brass. So it is a little bit brighter, kind of a different color gold, but using that black wax over the top of it really made it blend together nicely. So I just took my time and used a little artist paintbrush to paint this rub and buff on all of the metal. And this stuff works so nice. It's like dry within seconds, it seems. I still have to go get an Edison bulb for this lamp, but I think it'll look really cool. got black wax, and I just used a clean glove and my finger just to rub it lightly, just to kind of give it that antique-y look to it, darken it up a bit, make it not so bright. And I just let that dry on there, and then this one's complete. It was pretty easy flip, and my husband was pretty happy with it. And the final project for today is that little metal bird. I guess it was for a candle, holding candles or a glass pillar or something. So I was going to paint it with milk paint, but then I went to Corey's booth in Black Diamond, and she sells Dixie Belle paint, and I was wanting this patina spray stuff that I've seen so many YouTubers use, and I wanted to finally try it out. So I'm using the iron portion of the paint, and then I think what I actually should have done was painted it black first and then put the iron over the top. I'm just kind of learning as I go with this stuff, but it still turned out pretty cool. And so you put this stuff on, and then you, while it's wet, you take your spray colors, and I used blue and green, sprayed it on there and left it overnight, and it turns out really cool. It gives it a really authentic rust patina, and also that really pretty turquoise patina that you see on copper a lot of times that has been sitting outside. So I thought it actually turned out pretty good, and I'm going to kind of keep experimenting with this stuff with different color paints and things. But what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put a little nest inside with some eggs. And you'll be able to see that at the very end. So let me know what you guys think of these flips from my thrifting ventures over in Maple Valley, Seattle area. I'm going to continue to work on those because I had a complete trunk full. It's always fun to go over there and go thrifting. And so we'll do another thrift flip for Tuesday. And I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. And we'll see you then. Take care. Bye.